Hello, I'm Alan Mozek, and we will be discussing eye gaze, assistive technology, or EGAT. Our learning objectives will be I can describe eye gaze, assistive technology, and how it's used, and I can evaluate the advantages and disadvantages of EGAT for differentiating instruction in the classroom and how its use aligns with New York State next generation standards. So we're going to go into what an eye gaze device is, its function, how it can be used to broaden the horizons and opportunities for students, both in the classroom and their lives, its advantages and disadvantages, how we can differentiate instruction for the students using the device, and how an eye gaze device might even offer more opportunities for an entire classroom under a universal design for learning model. So what is an eye gaze assistive technology device, or EGAT? It's a high-tech assistive technology versus a low-tech, such as a PEX board or a static board, which a student might point at with their hands. An eye gaze device, an EGAT, is for individuals with no or limited muscular use, including their voice. Students who do not have the use of their hands to point or their voice for any sort of verbal communication or interaction. It allows access to a computer through eye movements. And so this offers opportunity to enhance play, communication, and learning. So most EGAT have very large icons on their screens. They're set up kind of like a iPad or a computer screen, and there are large icons that the user can target with their gaze. There's an infrared camera which can communicate to the device where the individual is looking. So many EGAT are developed with for use with general Windows operating systems today. Any individuals who are working in a classroom, a special ed room, they might be familiar with Tobii Dynavox. Tobii Dynavox has developed many programs and functions specifically for eye gaze, such as a mouse emulation. So now the eye gaze is going to perform the same function as a mouse. There's also a gaze selection. So users can modify and interact with the screen settings with those accessibility options, such as eye gaze sensitivity, the precision, and the speed. Such as the speed of words when an individual is writing using a visual keyboard. There is also another system that Tobii Dynavox has created is the Dynavox Word, which predicts the most likely word choices to assist in more time-efficient communication and writing. This would be similar to individuals who are using their hands on a touch screen when they're texting. The system might predict the most likely word for the first 2 or 3 letters, which are punched in. It's the same thing with Tobii Dynavox Word. Now, who is a EGAT going to service and benefit? EGAT can transform the lives of many individuals, such as people living with cerebral palsy, cortical basal degeneration, quadriplegia, ASL, Rett syndrome, or any individual with a mobility limiting disease. It's an excellent tool for a ventilator dependent individual. Or even a verbal person who has a spinal cord injury, but they find that direct selection with the eye gaze quicker and more efficient than the alternatives. So it might improve the quality of communication. We're going to watch a short excerpt of Heath, who is an eye gaze technology user. We'll see how he interfaces with the device. See here, he's using his eye gaze to spell words using the keyboard on the screen.
This is how I communicate and do other things.
Hi, my name is Heath. I am doing my business degree in human resources. I know that people are a bit wary when they see a person with a physical disability. Don't worry, I won't bite. If you have any questions to ask me, please look at me and not look at my support worker, as so many people do because I think, hello, I'm here and can converse, but not verbally. I just have cerebral palsy. My degree will be slow to complete. However, I think, what the heck? What is time?
And as you see there, Heath was discussing how the eye gaze device allows him to more directly interact and communicate with other individuals rather than go through the additional levels of interaction that a support worker might require. So we are here where encouraging independence and agency in individuals' lives. So there are many advantages. Like I said, as we saw with Heath, this eye gaze device can encourage agency and increase self-esteem, and also lead to more self-expression. So there we have increased choice, aids with socio-emotional regulation, and that communication angle, which can be seen throughout an individual's life and in interactions in an instructional classroom setting. The advantage is that the eye gaze device will aid free and appropriate public education. So a student will have greater access to the same instructional content and materials as their peers. That greater independence will provide that access to the least restrictive environment. A student can receive their adequate education in a wider range of settings. Assessment and real-time data collection is possible. And assessment can be done by the individual using their eye gaze device rather than having a support worker fill out answers to questions. And an eye gaze device is also potentially non-invasive. There's no use for bodily contact or hand over hand, as a student can maintain their dignity and privacy while interacting with materials and working on assignments, exams, and assessments. Play is really important, and that is a huge advantage for EGAT. It's not just all about instruction and work. There are different sites nowadays where there are games that young people, old people, anyone can play chess or checkers. There's even a modified eye gaze activated Minecraft. Now, there are a number of disadvantages. There's a limited accuracy and precision to the technology. All eye movements are not tracked, and sometimes there are concerns over the accuracy. And special training is also required both for the individual and support workers. This is time consuming and costly. And now that's probably one of the key disadvantages, which is the expense. The high cost of the eye gaze device limits its use, the access in some settings. And that expense also means that when there are behavioral factors which may lead to potential damages to materials, that might be more of a factor versus a low-tech alternative, low-tech modality. There are also some ethical concerns over privacy, respect, and autonomy. Is the individual consenting to this device and their use of it? And that sort of automatically all of their thoughts are conveyed there via this device. So the eye gaze device, as we said before, can vastly open up options and opportunities for interaction in a classroom, for engagement and access with instructional content. What could differentiation look like to fully engage students in an equitable and appropriate manner? Time extensions can be given for written assignments. As Heath even said, sometimes work using the EGAT progresses slowly. So keeping that in mind and respecting the work and the effort, including some more time extensions so that an individual can use the device with no pressures. Classroom texts and materials can be provided through electronic notebooks. So assignments can be modified so that they are available via the screen versus a piece of paper, which is given. Preferential seating can be given so that a student who might have limited mobility and might not be able to have limited mobility with their neck, keep them towards the front of the class, since the eye gaze and what they can see is so important to keep them at a spot where they can easily view both any slides or the instructor to see them as they're speaking. Also, presentation slides can be provided before and during instruction. So there might be, if it's a Google Doc, that Google Doc can be provided for the student. Work tests and assessments, as I said before, should be modified and adapted into that electronic format. And perhaps then the modified electronic work tasks can be provided to other students as well as appropriate to put in that universal design for learning component. And when it's feasible and appropriate, allow other students exposure to the EGAT technology. Now, it's important to keep in mind to maintain the dignity, the privacy, and the space of an individual who is utilizing the device, but allow for those interactions with peers who rely on the EGAT. Perhaps there's more chance for an EGAT user to really speak and request and comment with their peers. And so incorporate that into instruction and into interactions. The more interactions, the more normalized and the more frictionless activities will become. There are many ways that the New York State Next Gen standards can be further bolstered and supported using an eye gaze device, since it allows those students with mobility limitations and fine motor challenges to meet any sort of reading and writing standards. I am currently going for my my adolescent 7 to 12 degree with a focus on ELA. So I focused on 7th grade standards in reading and writing. So you can focus on the actual content using the eye gaze rather than focusing on challenges with mechanical manipulation. I took a couple standards just to show an example. 7W1 can easily be adapted because students can now write arguments using the eye gaze and word prediction software to formulate their arguments and support their claims. Rather than require any sort of hand-over-hand support or any other sort of interface or modality which might create frustration, which is irrelevant to the content. 7W6, so students can research online using the eye gaze as a mouse to navigate digital spaces. So now they can ask further questions and they can investigate independently. They don't need somebody to manipulate a mouse or move through texts. They can negotiate texts themselves. And also here's a reading standard, 7R1. Text can be digitally modified and adapted so students can read, scan, and annotate and cite textual evidence using the eye gaze instead of a bound book or digitally via keyboard, mouse, or touchscreen. The eye can read the text, scan, and perform any of the functions which other students will be utilizing in the classroom to meet these standards. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. I hope we all learned something about how amazing iGaze devices are. And thank you so much and have a great day.